Are they going to bend it?
All right. Can y'all hear us? Perfect. Can you speak up real quick so we can hear you?
I'm here, Daniel.
Okay.
I'm here. This is Craig.
Audio worked on, and you go ahead and start.
Boy. Okay. Welcome to the first meeting of the year of the Athens in Motion Commission. Welcome to fellow Athens in Motion commissioners. Good to see your faces. Welcome to anyone who is watching online. Of course, welcome to our folks on the commission and staff who are participating from WebEx. It takes a whole control room to conduct a meeting in person and online. So thank you everyone for your patience. We're starting a little bit late here today down at the Planning Auditorium on 120 West Dougherty Street. Daniel, do we have any public comment?
No.
Great. All right, moving on to our agenda, which we will have you share this. You are sharing the screen. That's great.
Audio
So many computers. This is kind of wild. Any additions or tweaks to the agenda? I know we have a lot to cover today. Did I get everything in there? Sort of everything? All right, great. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved. Second.
I got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to our minutes.
Okay.
This is tiny too. We need to make it bigger for
Yeah, I
our
gotcha.
folks who are here. Can it be even bigger?
Here, I got you. Go ahead and switch to layout. Bit bigger.
And then zoom here. Yeah, we're digital adopters. We're not digital natives or something like that. Y'all just wait till Gen Z gets in here. Okay. This is, I need the minutes.
Oh, I don't have this. Sorry.
Okay. So in a moment, we will take a look at our minutes from back in November, which was our annual meeting. And I did pass along our annual report to the new commission and gave them, and Teresa, I think I CC'd you on that, and kind of gave them an overview of Athens in Motion and some links. And that was ahead of their first work session in which we gave a presentation on Barber Street. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Thank you, Daniel. All right. These are our minutes. Any edits to the minutes?
I thought I attended, but now I'm looking through records and I can't remember. So, and I'm listed as not having attended.
Did you attend
on that
online?
list? I think you were virtual, actually.
It may have been.
But you should be on that list.
Okay, so we'll add, you need to add.
I can, no, it's fine. I
No,
promise you.
I was watching, I was reviewing it the other day. I know I saw you.
Okay.
Okay.
Under the AIM
projects, Cherokee Road, it says 85% completed. Is that, I think it's the design?
Design, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost done, y'all.
Yeah.
It's on itself.
I
Almost.
wish.
We can't see it, but it's done.
Yeah. They're just gonna turn it on and then the Maltese path will
I'm
appear.
sure you do it.
If only.
If only.
It's not the worst job in the world.
Yeah, that was right.
Clean toilets.
Cherokee.
Mhm. I wish. Oh. Good eye, good eye.
Anything else?
Well, that one's important to me, so that's why I call it.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to write down.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve our minutes from November.
So moved.
All right, first one,
Second.
approve the second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Moving on, and Daniel, we can see all that, just letting you know.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know we need to get you those final minutes. Next item on our agenda, we're gonna go ahead and move into our major items, and we do have a lot to cover today. So we'll do our best to get through this. I have allocated 60 minutes, which is more than what we usually do. And so that kind of suppresses the staff section, heads up.
That's what
Daniel, but that's fine. I know it's just you today. I wanted to bring to y'all's attention a tabling opportunity. REI, the co-op, is opening soon on February 10th through 12th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they're having various groups, including Bike Athens and some other folks, come talk to people and network. It is from 1 to 5 p.m. on all 3 days. And I don't know if we got a sense whether we needed to commit to all 3 days or if that was the polite thing to do.
I'm committed to all 3 days because they already gave us $10,000. So we're excited to be there and show that we're a partner. I would suggest, I talked to the Greenway Commission about this too.
Mhm.
I don't know that y'all need to bring a table and set up and man it for 15 hours or whatever it is. If y'all want to hang out at our table and talk to people and introduce yourselves, that might be a way to have some representation there, but
Okay.
it's up to y'all.
Mhm.
I know we're there the whole time.
Okay. That sounds like that's very thoughtful, like Athens. That sounds like a great
like it.
approach. Bring our
You know,
materials.
logistics.
Yeah.
Since it's a 3-day event, putting all that stuff out and then taking it back. And
It's a big commitment if you're trying to do it all. But I don't think that you need to be there for it all. I think,
So do we have anyone who is interested in tabling for any of those days?
I can do either Saturday or Sunday.
I can do-
Friday's tough for me.
I can do Friday.
Okay, yeah, and I can fill in. I probably can't do Sunday. I want to put some notes somewhere.
Go ahead and
I'll probably just put them on here.
just draw them up in there.
Okay. With Athens. And are you guys staying out of it, staff?
I'm happy to show up.
Who has our tabling material right now? Teresa? Yes.
It's in my garage,
Okay,
which is a beautiful garage.
yes. So Friday is tough for you. So we need to, anyone who can be there Friday should get the materials from you.
Yeah, I mean, we should figure out what materials we want to have. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely, I'm going to be home. We're just having people for dinner and it's like
When on Friday or Saturday?
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
That's why Friday's kind of tough.
I can show up Friday at 3-ish. I've got a faculty meeting, which I just
I
assumed.
can come for Friday.
Okay, let me write this down. Okay, who can do,
Well, also we have to reach out to them to
right.
ask for an invite.
I can do Friday 3 to 5.
Okay, so Mark, 3 to 5.
I'll check out the store anyway.
And
And Teresa, would you be able to coordinate with REI?
Forget our
about
local-
having a
Sorry?
No.
Would you be able
The hub has
to coordinate with REI?
I can't hear you.
The hub has 6
Would you
bikes
all,
worth
would
of
you all hold it down over here? I'm trying to listen.
Calm down.
Would you be able to coordinate with REI to get a table?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay,
cool. And then you can CC me on that as well, but just, I can forward you the email that Scott sent me, so you'll have the contact info.
okay.
I don't have the capacity to coordinate it right now.
So wait a minute, I thought we were gonna like tag along with Scott.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that. Go for it.
That's all right. So yeah, we
It's-
just need to
it's
figure
less
out
work for
like,
y'all if y'all just like show up and be like, hey, I'm
That's
also
what you
by
meant.
Athens in Motion. This is what we do.
I think I was checked out.
Scott just wants somebody at the table so he can go take breaks.
That's, I mean,
well, that's valid.
Scott just wants to fix bikes.
really. I'm gonna have a sign-up sheet for my volunteers and board members to sort of pick some time slots.
Okay,
That way I have coverage and I can go grab a sandwich and, but we'll be there.
Will there be power?
I don't expect there to be. They are asking us to bring a tent, a table. They might be providing a table. I think I'm gonna bring a tent and a table, 10-foot. You guys have a banner?
Pardon me?
A banner?
We don't, well, we do have a banner, yes. It kind of fits in front of a table.
Well, we can probably zip tie that underneath ours.
Okay,
That way people can see that it's more than one thing happening there.
yeah, because I mean, the reason I was asking about power is because, you know, bring a computer and then I have an external monitor, you know, we could put the Athens in Motion plan as it is now up there for people to look at if they wanted to.
I would recommend a QR code so that they can just do it on their phone.
How do you make a QR
We'll take care of it.
Figure it out.
code? Good.
I've got QR codes that send people to donate to us and they can learn more about us, but also another one to be like, fire up the Athens in Motion info. We can do that.
Okay.
yeah, Craig, are you hearing any of that? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. So maybe we'll continue this discussion online, but sounds like Teresa, Mark, Lauren, Randy, Daniel will probably cover some of this. We'll tag along with Bike Athens. We'll make sure we get some materials from Teresa. And then we get to check off a tabling event for the year.
Right.
That's pretty great. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate that.
Scott, are you gonna have room for the Greenway Commission too?
They didn't seem like they were gonna table with me. They were interested in the idea of tabling, but I don't think they really committed to doing it. I encouraged them to do so based on the enthusiasm that REI seems to have for putting money into the community. So,
I reached out to the manager, I've been communicating with him by email,
Tim,
Tim.
Yeah.
And he's referenced me to a young lady, but also in his email said, I'd love to have us there, but there's limited room. So I'm not sure what he's implying there. I haven't heard back from the young lady yet.
don't know. I mean, they're calling it Vendor Village. So I don't know if that's just like all the other brands that they're selling, they're gonna have reps there, and then we're just the weird nonprofit people. I don't know. I'll find out.
Mhm.
Great.
Any comments from virtual world?
Okay, so next we need to take a vote on our new logo.
Yeah, brief discussion on it. So Daniel, I sent a kind of cheat sheet to you and Lauren.
Yep, we are hopefully pulling it up. It's just taking a minute to show.
All right,
Teresa, you want to talk about it?
let's just talk about this. Okay, so, you know, the logo discussion is one of those things that just took a lot of time and was kind of hard to get to resolution on. So we ended up with 3 themes and, you know, it's just, I mean, if you all want to like make a motion and vote to have me make the decision, that's fine, but I'd rather have a discussion about it and everybody feel good about it. So this first one, number 1, the smaller one on top would be something like a sticker. You know, something small that we could just like put on things that we're giving out. The bigger one would be for like press.
poster with partnership, in partnership with.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically, those are the types of logos they ask for that are a little more condensed.
So, and we organized it with the pedestrian, the handicap, and the bicycle as being the three that stand out. That's why they're in blue. And then they surround the bus and the car. So we thought that that was kind of a good way to organize those icons.
I really like that. I do too.
Yeah. Okay, so that's number one. So let's scoot to number two. Okay, so this was another one that did not get voted off the island. And you know, some people liked it.
It might have gotten voted out during the communications meeting.
You think we voted it off the island? I think I mean, that was what I was thinking, but it's here. And so,
This has been pretty indifferent the whole time.
okay, and then there's this, okay, which is popular. The two versions of it, you know, one with the arrow just going in one direction, and then the other with the arrow kind of split like that. But so I guess I would say between number one and number three would be our decision.
You think, and I'm not offended by this or upset at this. Would anyone take that as too violent an image with an arrow shooting out? Or, like I said, I just wonder how some people might respond to it.
Right.
Not me.
It's not my favorite. Let me put it to you that way.
So,
But it's good to have options.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think number one's just at a glance, you can see what we do.
Right.
It says it exactly.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because it's when we tell people what we do, it's a lot of words.
Yes, it is.
And it's also, there's a perception that it's all about things other than cars and buses.
Right. Yeah, that's all bicycles. You damn bicycle.
So anyway, so if
Proud of it.
if we all like this one, can I make a motion that we adopt this as our new logo?
I like it. It took me a long time to find the in.
We're back here especially.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so if there's a way for us to make the in more prominent.
You know, we could just reverse
it
the
would be
colors.
Helpful.
I'll talk to the designer.
Reverse those colors now.
I think another point in the process, we were looking at the active wheelchair user instead of just the handicap signal.
Yeah.
And so I can get that.
And
adjusted.
is there more room for the in between the A and the M? I don't know. I'm no designer, but that puts it more toward the front of the.
I
Whatever.
mean, there are refinements that we can make if
Okay.
we,
Overall, it looks really
if we
good.
like the theme and we want to
Yeah.
go with that and refine it. Okay, so
I'll say there's not a lot of refinements we can make. She's done a lot of iterations of this, so
Right.
we just need to kind of vote on it. But we can, if there's some things, so like the final round of info is that we want this logo. Do we want this wheelchair symbol or the active wheelchair symbol?
what's the
Can we see what you
difference?
mean by the active symbol?
Sounds.
I think that's more
You're
standard.
asking.
Is that where it's kind of like tilted forward and it looks like it's moving itself?
Mhm.
I don't know. I think we should ask someone who uses a wheelchair.
Very good point.
So does anybody know anyone who uses a wheelchair on the regular that?
Kind of like this, the one with the black background, second from the right on the lower,
Uh-huh.
with the two little semicircles behind the wheel. And it's not like
Good middle
crazy
ground.
racer
Right.
wheelchair person, but it's obviously implying some motion.
Okay, well, yeah,
I don't know.
I like it.
No,
Okay.
I agree, because the ones up top kind of look like they're playing a sport.
I'm in a sport. Yeah, exactly.
That's just an example of what that type of logo is. She had one that she was using before, but yeah, it's not leaned over as far, I think.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to pull this. If at all possible, I would like for at least one of these icons to represent someone who's not just a man.
You'd like one of the icons,
What?
what?
To represent not
Why?
just a man. Because women are. I was ready.
Eric's a
Okay,
feminist
so
man.
put some stilettos on the
Yeah.
wheelchair person.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, we could see like a ponytail on the person riding a bike or something. That's fine. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna.
Yeah. No, I,
That's,
I
okay,
agree.
so we have a motion to accept this logo, and then the modifications, what does that count as? Is like a sub-motion?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The motion is, the motion is that we like number one, and that we will make some refinements
Yeah.
with the designer before we, sign and seal and deliver on it.
Okay, yeah, and we'll authorize Teresa to work with the designer to make tweaks as it is feasible or able, and if it is not, that is fine.
Yep.
I will, I'm gonna second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, who's been doing the work?
Ellen Walker. Do y'all want a helmet on the cyclist?
I mean, I don't not want a helmet on the cyclist.
Yeah,
Um,
would be best.
Have we been paying her for this?
No, she
Done this.
volunteered to do it.
Wow.
But,
No, we wanted to pay her.
Ellen, wow.
I mean, I'd rather pay her a little bit of money and get the logo we want
We
than.
do have a budget. we'll talk about.
She doesn't want to be paid because she does not have her business license yet.
Oh.
So it's really easier for her, and she says she really enjoys doing this. And it hasn't been a heavy lift, so it's not like we're.
And John, thank you so much for those comments, because we did bring that up to a point. And I think it was more difficult for Ellen at this point to pursue a business license for us to officially pay her. I know.
Oh.
It's,
She's doing this because she wants to do it. I mean, and that, she made that abundantly clear.
Sure.
So, and we have not taken advantage of her good nature.
all right, we have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, one step further to new logos. So excited.
Hallelujah.
Next item on the agenda. Yeah, thank you, Craig. Is our, I know what it was. I had a,
Where did the agenda go?
is the second one? Yeah. Is that it?
Well, it's technically, yeah, sure.
That's not right there.
Oh,
Teresa is going to lead us through some potential expenditures. We have asked for $12,000 again, and we have a meeting sometime on February 23rd at a time to be determined. And Teresa, you and Daniel have been talking about ways to spend this money and have some ideas up for discussion. You want to take it away?
Okay, so the first discussion is that we have 2023 funds that we have not tapped. Okay, so we should take advantage of the funds that we have available to us for the remainder of this fiscal year. So what we would like to do is take $3,500 to reopen the wiki map that Tool Design Group made for us back in 2018 as part of the new Athens in Motion plan back then. And, we need to reopen it so that we can work on our revisions to, and why would we reinvent the wheel when we've got it right there? We just need to have their support to get it back in play. Then we would like to do some sort of public engagement and outreach as part of the AIM plan revision. And so we can get Tool or some other one of our partners to help us with that. Because we really do want to get more people to, look at what we've been doing and, talk about what they would like to see and, how they view the priorities, and the criteria that we're using. Then another thing we thought about was spending $2,000 to get some reflective vests with the new logo on them. And these are things that we can give away, and we can give them away at tabling events. We can give them away through Bike Athens. It's just a nice thing to have, and, it's safety oriented, and it gives us a little bit of PR.
Are they like $20 and you get 100 of them?
Something like that. I mean, it's not a big, huge expense, but to get the printing on them, that adds a little bit to it. But But yeah, I mean, there are websites that'll do this for you. You just have to give them the graphic and they'll just make them. And then we were talking about getting a social media intern, somebody who's really good with all the various platforms that people are using these days. So, the old standards, the Facebook and the Instagram. I don't know much about the other ones. I don't know whether we want to get a TikTok thing going or anything like that. But I mean, somebody who's good about figuring out how to frame a message so that people see it and understand it quickly, and then react favorably to it and do a click through, like, oh, let's click on Athens in Motion and get some more information, that sort of thing. So, but the one issue right now is, do we have a specific message or set of messages that we want to work on right now? And I mean, one thing is getting people to look at the plan and comment on it for the revision process. But what about like Sherelle, if you're listening? Is Sherelle listening?
Not listening.
Like a Vision Zero message, something like that. Because I mean, we're doing a lot of work kind of behind the scenes, but we don't have a lot to show for it, if you know what I mean. And, we need people to be paying attention and communicating with us. If there are problem areas and things that they want help with, and, don't want them screaming into the void, we'd like them to have a place where they could let us know.
So you said, so we still have some money left over that's not included in this proposed budget?
Let's see, that would be 7, that's like 8. Well, that would give us, like, if we had $4,000 left and we wanted to hire somebody on a part-time basis to do social media things.
Okay, wait, so the 12K, that's for what we're asking for?
No,
or-
No, that's what we have.
We need to spend this out by the
We gotta
end.
spend the 12K.
Oh,
Okay, so this
We're
is
trying to come up-
FY '23 we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
to be clear, this money has to be spent out by mid-June preferably.
Yeah.
Pay for services is more complicated than buying products.
Right.
That's why some of what we were talking about was like the 3,500 to reopen the wiki map. I'm currently working on PO and, with Ganesh, who then is subcontracting with Tool Design Group. So, for the public engagement portion of these things, and the goal there, we're just gonna have $10,000, an account of 10,000 that we can pay to Tool, up to 10,000. That way we don't have to do these little things. And that can be for some city things, like if we need them to do some adjustments to a design, they can charge us an hourly rate to that PO. This case, it would be like reopening this would be really simple. I haven't heard from them yet on whether they've already started this. We asked them to go ahead and get started because we know that we need it open. So whether or not you approve to pay for this out of Athens in Motion, I would probably look at these as individual motions. So maybe we start with discussion around paying $3,500 to open the wiki map, which is the public input method that was used in the original round. I'll pull it up. So
okay, so that's the public input. That's part of public engagement.
Yes.
So that's where people clicked, left a comment on a particular area.
Right. So, and then the other thing is, now that we're all together, well, hi, we see you out there, Craig. We can, if there are other ideas for good ways for us to use this money, let's have them.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, looking at 7,000 to support an update to the plan would seem to me like the planning commission paying for the comprehensive plan to be done when it's an official government plan. So I would like to see us use money to go to a group like Bike Athens to pay for the social media stuff we were talking about, or to keep more within the community in our 12,000. Do I have a list of things to spend $12,000 on right now? I don't, and I would hate to see that money go away.
Right, well, see, that's the thing, is that we,
If you're in danger of any money going away, you can always give it to me and I'll buy bike lights and I'll give them away as we normally do. We started doing this last year where we were buying them and giving them away. And it's so much better than someone having to make a financial decision about whether they should get lights or not.
absolutely.
And I can just say, just take them.
Yep.
And my money doesn't expire. So
Right.
Right.
I mean, I am all in favor of something like that.
yeah.
And
if y'all run out of ideas,
well, and
spend
then
money.
No, I mean, I was thinking about that also. 'cause
what
that-
about
that's
like a
great-
bike fix-it station or something?
Yeah.
Is there any way we could buy one of those?
It's more work for me.
Yes. Y'all can do bike fix stations, bike racks, as long as they're placed within the public right of way. Now, if you were saying like you wanted them on like Prince Avenue, there's not really any reason for y'all to pay for that because we can just use this
That's
lost project.
But I mean, if there are places where we could take some of this money and, buy something that we could install.
Like lighting on the greenways, for example,
For example.
which I see as.
Should be capital
Um,
budgets.
Well, that won't pay for the budgets, but that would do like the initial cost of the
For the
lights, but
installation and the
kind
electrical. Yeah,
that's like a discussion that you guys would decide if it's a suitable. I'm not sure. I haven't ever tried to do that Greenway Commission's bought assets for the Greenway before.
Yeah.
Benches,
Mhm.
all that.
I mean, if there's something that the Greenway needs that they don't have enough funding for, would we be able to buy that?
They have a second account that they're trying to also spend out, so.
Okay, I mean, I'm just,
no,
I want to make sure that we don't lose an opportunity that we have here.
do we have enough time to table this until next meeting? And
I would prefer we vote for some of it to be spent so I
Yeah.
can get started. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's kind of a pain to like get all this stuff going and get it through the right people at the very last minute.
So I
So,
have to vote on the wiki reopening thing.
yeah, I was trying to pull it up so you could see what I was talking about.
and the one that just feels weird for us to be paying for, and the public engagement and outreach.
Yeah, I see what you mean, John.
Well, I will say that, I don't have it with me, but the ordinance or the resolution that created the Athens Motion Commission created y'all to oversee the development of this plan. Now, the Planning Commission was not created to oversee the development of the comp plan.
Mhm.
They are reviewing and approving, it's going through the Planning Commission to have that element of public approval. But it is y'all's task and responsibility to oversee the Athens in Motion plan. In the same way that the Greenway Commission is in charge of doing the Greenway Network plan. Now, will we provide full staff support in helping that get done? Absolutely. Otherwise, we don't have a way forward either, because it's my job to help support you guys.
Who paid for the map for the Greenway Network Plan update public comments?
I created that with
So-
staff time.
So it was staff.
It was staff time. Yeah, it wasn't paid for. There was no monetary exchanges.
Okay.
Well, I guess the thing I would say too is that this is whether the Athens in Motion budget or the, county budget pays for it. It's all from the same place. This is all Athens-Clarke County money that we're
Sure.
talking about.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not like we're digging into our pockets and impoverishing ourselves when somebody else ought to be doing it. I mean, basically, this is money that the county, has said we can spend, and.
But I think it should be on things that the county otherwise wouldn't spend money on,
Right,
Yeah,
or isn't obligated to spend money on.
Yeah.
and that's fine. I just, just that if we don't spend it, then, they're gonna question our need for it, in a year.
Yep.
And we won't, when we might really need the money and then we don't have it.
you're talking to a former ACC employee here. I know the drill. You gotta spend the money.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that, as Mark says, Athens-Clarke County will be doing this stuff one way or the other.
Right.
And it would be ideal for us to come up with another way to spend the money that would be extra, beyond the nuts and bolts
Okay.
of.
So what
Yeah.
about buying a billboard? Something like that.
Let's get back to the topic at hand, which is the wiki map. I just kind of need a yes or no on this. So yes, we'll probably pay for it, because it needs to be open and public engagement needs to happen. Like, I'm probably just gonna have to dig into our sidewalk gap program fund to do it. So I don't have a ton of money as kind of expendable. We'll make it work and we'll find the money, but yeah, it makes sense. Is a request from me to y'all. It's fine if you don't want to, we'll still get it opened. And then we can start discussion on kind of the next item, so. Yeah, I guess I just kind of want that answer on the wiki map real quick.
I move that we approve the payment of the WikiLeaks opening to the maps. At the amount you requested, what is it, 3,500?
Yes.
I'll second that.
So discussion.
I'm not sure about it. I'm with John on it. I'm just not sure.
To reopen, how long does it stay open? It's down now, right? Or
I was planning on just leaving it open permanently. And then this would be, the vision for this is kind of, instead of just having it open during public comment periods, have it as an ongoing resource that can always be accessed and people can always
So
put
at
in
this
the
point,
barriers.
if we pay 3,500, we own the map?
It reopens it permanently. I don't know about ownership because I don't have a Wikimap account. I don't know enough about their thing. But we'll have access to it.
It puts it in a little bit of a different light for me, Daniel, in that you're saying you're requesting this from us. I still wish we had more time on this, though.
And it's absolutely, like, I'm not gonna be offended if y'all vote no or to table, like, that's fine. I just wanna make sure that we can keep the conversation moving, because I know we have $12,000. Like, yes, we can spend it on bike lights. It's a great, route to go. If we just wanna talk about buying $2,000 vests, that's fine. If y'all wanna just kind of do a quick poll to figure out where y'all are at, if you're not all in agreement and you don't want to move forward, then.
What I'm hearing from you though is if we don't, you're gonna have to pull someplace else in your budget, which may impact a program that we're very supportive of, that won't get the funding that it needs. Since we have this money here and we feel we need this, this mapping up, I think we ought to, this money is available, we ought to make use of it.
What I don't understand is the need to act right now on it if we know we're gonna do it one way or the other, whether through your budget or our expenditure as AIM. I just don't see why we have to decide right now.
So we'll talk about it in the committee updates, but basically, if we're planning on having this revision done by August, and get all the public input that we really need and all of the new criteria discussions and project network stuff, like, we're doing a comprehensive update. It will be done hopefully in August. Last time it was August 2018. It was voted on in October of 2018. So 5 years from then, if we want to stick to our 5-year update schedule, will be August and October voting cycle. That being said, I mean, the Greenway Commission has been kind of stuck on their update since 2020.
I don't mean the speed of updating the plan. I mean the speed of having this decision on who's paying for opening this back up.
I mean,
Does that need to happen today?
if y'all don't want it to, then it doesn't. But I just wanted to get that first item checked on the agenda, then we can talk about the next one. But I didn't want to sit there and talk about like all the different ways we could spend it. I think going through this initial list is good. And if y'all are undecided, then we can table it. Either way, we'll probably get it open so that we could start doing public input. I'll find out if we can move money later from this account into the other.
Okay.
That would be fine. I don't really know the purchasing rules.
If it is, again, it being a request from you, and again, if it really is essential for us to know right now, then it does change my thinking a little bit. But if there were more time for us to collaborate on an intentional list of things that we want to spend money on, not, oh crap, we've got 5.5 months to
Mhm.
get rid of $12,000, I'd be more comfortable. That's all. I'm fine if we need to move forward this way. My reservations are minor at this point, I think.
Well, I think we should have further discussions about how to spend, our budget, I'm in favor of going ahead with Daniel's plan to reopen the Wiki Map, and now we're supporting it. Because
Call for the question.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second.
we're missing Mark.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so I guess we'll go around. Who made the motion? Okay, you made the motion, you made a second. So I'll call names. Do I have to go through the original people again? Okay, Dale, what's your vote?
Yes?
Randy,
Yes.
Blaine,
Yes.
Teresa,
yes,
John,
How about yes?
Lauren. Yes.
and then.
Mark,
You don't
what's your
have
vote?
Mark.
We call the question.
He's not even in the room yet. He can't-
Okay. We need a yes or no from you on
On what?
the Wiki Map, 3,500,
Has everyone else voted already?
yes.
Am I the deciding vote?
You're the-
No.
It doesn't matter how you.
If you want it to be unanimous.
There you go.
Yeah, and,
Did I guess right?
yeah.
Yes, you did.
I guess
But it would have
You're not here.
It's the other way.
Okay.
Right,
No hard feelings ever.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. Yeah, I guess we should ask your thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget Greg.
Yeah, but we do, so that gets us started. Do we want to place a vote on any of the other items that Teresa has put forth?
Yeah, I'm pulling this up.
Yeah,
So I say it sounds like we should probably hold off on that second public engagement outreach. Coordination, I think that's completely understandable. We don't need that immediately. Do we want?
I would love for us to go ahead and have something with our logo out there, and I think reflective vests are great and completely in line with our mission. And Scott, you don't have any reflective vests or anything at your shop that you, to pass out or anything, do you? Safety measure?
Very few. I'm trying to work into my 2024 grant that we get 150,
Mhm.
just strappy vest reflective things.
Okay,
But I like the idea of the vest because you don't have to be on a bike to use it and get good use out of it. The bike lights are kind of on bikes, so I think I can give these to more people. I'm not as much interested in getting our logo on it, but I think it would be really good for.
right.
It would be very attractive for somebody to see a stack of Athens in Motion reflective vests in our shop and want one.
Yeah, I mean, not to continually use your place as a place of distribution, but
It's a great place for that.
do we get a sense for how many reflective vests we would get for 2,000?
Well, let me just Google that.
I think it very much depends on the vests that you buy. If it's that really airy meshy thing, probably a lot less than the more fabric-y type. There's an old Atlanta Bicycle Coalition vest at the shop.
Yep.
That's pretty decent quality.
Yep.
I'd be happy to kick in a few $100s from Georgia Bikes if we could get our logos on them too. And if you guys have a few $100s to put your logos on them, is that of interest to the group?
I have no problem with that.
Share real
I
estate a
mean,
little bit?
we could put like Athens in Motion on the back and one of you here and one of you there. I mean, we're all in this together, right?
Well, and it's, it benefits all of us to get more
Yeah.
vests out there.
Sure. Okay, so let's see. Reflective vests, custom safety vests from Amazon.
I mean, there are gonna be
Yeah, I have.
1,000 options.
I have a wholesale distributor that we get our vests from that, I may even have.
What do you think the base price is for?
You can get them for
I'm
like
guessing a couple
$10,
dollars.
$11.
Okay.
Cheap.
So that gets you like 200.
Uh,
The artwork and printing are gonna
Well, the
cost as
artwork-
much or more than the actual vest.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, how about this? I think that 2K is a great amount to get started with, so maybe authorize education communications, the ability to purchase an initial round of vests and pursue printing, possibly with co-branding. So, Brand, and I'll make that motion for that.
Second.
All right, any further discussion, particularly like about the co-branding or anything? All right, all those in favor of 2,000 towards our first round of reflective vests, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is $5,500 going to be spent.
Getting there.
All right,
The last item here is social media intern. John, you mentioned earlier doing that through Bike Athens. We've talked about it. I discussed that with our public info office. They felt like it would look really weird to be paying like Bike Athens, whose mission is not social media, to do social media on our behalf. I understand the idea of being able to do it that way. He seemed to be more in line with, we would have essentially contract labor. They would fill out a contract labor form. It's how we do our internships. And then we would pay them directly as they report their hours. So I think that's probably the route that we would need to go.
There is a really oppositional other side to that coin, and that is that Bike Athens knows everything about the content of what we would be talking about, and an intern or a contract laborer will probably know next to nothing about the content that we would be talking about. I mean, I appreciate input from Public Information Office, but this seems like an Athens in Motion decision, no?
Yeah, that was some input that he offered.
Jeff, I've known Jeff for like 20 years. I appreciate his
and I'm
knowledge
sure,
and expertise on this, but like, I've had so many interns over the years and they don't really always get it through.
Maybe
Scott, is that something Bike Athens is interested in? At all? Maybe not.
What you're talking about in terms of like us being experts in the content makes a lot of sense. Do I have somebody in mind that this would be great for? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how long it's gonna take me to find that person.
Okay.
To do that. It's not impossible. It's just something that I would have to work on.
So we're not talking about you doing it yourself.
I don't have the capacity.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Well, then maybe that ship has sailed then, anyway.
it's possible.
Okay.
So, yeah, what we want to do is have somebody who's good at social media and, increasing our presence and the click-throughs and, building
I mean,
the audience.
if you want to make it to where you've got a social media intern from UGA that the county's going to pay through an internship contract program, whatever, and then put into the program, the job description, whatever, that you'll consult with Bike Athens on the content. That way, I don't have to spend time generating the content, but I can look it over and go, oh, no.
Well, and they can consult with us too.
Or
right? I
you
mean,
can
that's-
say, here's an important message for you, to work into one of your posts.
Yeah.
I think that would work well, because like, I certainly didn't envision, putting somebody under your roof and having you deal with them.
No, I was assuming it would have been you doing it directly. If it's not you doing it, I think my
No, all the
my outlook
social media
changes.
is basically
There are
whatever
people better
Warner or I
than me.
just put out there, which is pretty, my posts are kind of lame, but.
so we have voted through 2 items to spend money on today. Do y'all want to take a vote on this, or do you want to talk about it some more?
I'm happy to support 3,000 for social media, but
So moved.
We know that's what it's gonna cost.
So
We know what kind of value we're gonna get.
I think the cost estimate there was 15 an hour, 5 hours a week for the rest. of the
Yeah, 5
year.
hours a week and then,
But
20 an hour.
Who will supervise the social media?
That was just what I was gonna ask.
What's that?
because
Supervising.
way more social media savvy than I am.
Because
Right.
If we did that through contract labor, now if we wanted to do a bulk sum, then I think
Rarely
would be Athens' judgment on like the hourly rate and how that gets compensated.
So Mark's question was like, okay, who's this person gonna be reporting to and accountable to?
Yeah, so, sorry, if that was on ACC staff, then I would probably put that under Sherelle. She's more social media savvy than I am. And she's like the Vision Zero messaging, so that would probably focus heavily on, safety and
Right.
bike sped.
So y'all would
So
be hiring.
so if we agree to fund this,
Yeah, we'd reach out to the,
then we would have it like, have this person report to Sherelle.
and it wouldn't be like it's not the same as like a full-time interview or even a part-time interview at
Okay.
ACC. It's like, if we had somebody in mind, then we'd say, hey, we got someone we want to pay for contract labor.
So we have a motion on the floor from Dale. And
Second.
So John, did yours count as a motion?
No,
This did not count as a motion. You were the motion.
Did you put a motion up?
I thought
I
you
did
did,
not.
Lauren.
I did.
You put up a motion, so
Okay, motion one. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, so to be clear, we are proposing to allocate $3,000 to Transportation and Public Works for a social media intern at $15 an hour.
and then I'll figure out how many hours a week
And
that
then we'll
is.
figure out the hours.
with Athens in Motion as,
Or actually, yeah, it wouldn't be under Sherelle. Like, I guess she would need to, or they would need to report to Athens in Motion because it's not our social media account. If y'all 3,000, figure out
this is
that.
complicated, yeah.
I'll figure out that part of it. I think the big question right now is to spend that 3,000 to set it aside and allocate it for.
Let's allocate it.
Okay, we'll allocate it. We'll figure out the
Make
details.
sure that we administrate it correctly.
Yeah, I'll get it figured out and we'll send it out talk about through email. It'll make sure we're doing it all right.
Creating a line in the budget for social media, $3,000. First and second, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, we're gonna have to move on from the budget discussion. Thank you again, Teresa, for coming up with this great list. And so we can spend this money and hopefully have more money for our next fiscal year. Moving right along, we have some detailed updates, status updates from our Policy and Project Committee. I'll turn it over to the chair, Randy.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to hit on two items. The first being our crosswalk policy. And so we had meetings in November and December. The November meeting was attended by ACC staff, a lot of input and feedback on the draft that was put together. December meeting, finishing the complete review of that draft. So we're pretty much at the point where we feel like we have something that's not final by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a nice baseline to start with and can be handed off now to the ACC staff for them to complete with our input and feedback on ultimately what's written.
Do you want to bring that, is your plan to bring that forward to the full commission to look at before we send this over to staff? Are you looking for a vote eventually?
Hadn't thought about that. I thought it was.
Well, so what we've got is kind of the rough draft version of it. And I really want to make sure that traffic engineering has had a chance to make sure that they're okay with all the metrics and
Okay.
stuff, and we can fill in the details. Now, if you guys would like to see it, we are not in any hurry to jump on this right away. We got a lot of other things going on. So we could either do a special call to go over, like we could kind of run through the crosswalk policy where we're at, if y'all are interested. The overarching elements are, we use some of, I can't remember the basis. One of the other communities, was it Denver?
It was Denver and El Cerrito, California.
Yeah, Denver and El Cerrito. And essentially, our crosswalk policy, we kind of have a list of criteria of like, here's what we look at. And so somebody at ACC gets an email asking for a crosswalk. We run through those items. We do a warrant study, which is usually 10 people per hour. The biggest change in this one is that it allows us to do an analysis ahead of that to determine whether we need to look at a warrant study. So it looks at context surrounding land use, existing connectivity, all that kind of stuff to see. And if it already checks all of those boxes, then there's no need to do a count because we know that there's value in having a mid-block crossing there.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying to figure out what procedurally we need to do because this originated from staff. We've been working on it. Since it's policy, it has to go on our work plan. Does that mean that we need to probably bring it before the full commission eventually?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Eventually, yes.
Okay, but you guys want to kick it over to staff first?
For them to do a thorough
Okay.
look at it, and
Okay,
it's a lot more complicated from a total, to design the policy
mhm,
and put it in a format such that it fits into the county,
okay,
then we can certainly handle.
okay, so you're giving us a heads up that you've been working on it and it's gonna go to staff next, and then we'll see
We'll
a
flesh out
potential
details.
Right.
final version to approve.
Yeah, and the way I kind of saw it was, this is preliminary draft.
Mhm.
Staff looks at it, we fill in details, put in references to code, all that kind of stuff, the really fun
Okay.
things. And then we could bring it back and provide y'all with a draft of the crosswalk policy. And we would review it together. We could do that through the projects and policy committee. And then, or a special called session if all the commissioners want to be there, similar to Complete Streets.
Did we review it line by line? We didn't review it as a full commission line by line for Complete Streets. But as
Oh,
in
I
policy,
didn't
we
mean
did.
line by line.
Okay.
I meant more like,
Okay, yeah, that,
it's like 10 pages.
okay, great. Now I know where we are with this. Sounds good.
Okay.
Any questions for Randy about the crosswalk policy and where we're at with it?
And it's out there on the Google Drive. If you want to take a look at it, it's still open for comments, of course.
You've done a good job on it, Andy.
Well, it was
It's tedious.
quite the learning experience, yes. Yes.
And then you had bike lane gaps and.
Yeah, so since we're now moving that along, the next thing I'd like to take up, Daniel and I were talking about this. So take a look at, for me anyway, it feels like we've come off the success of Prince Avenue. So what can we do next to, really keep things rolling here with trying to fill the gaps? So if we were to take a look, what I'd like to do at the next P&P meeting is Daniel has a map of, at least right now, where the bike lanes are and aren't. So let's take a look at that. Are there spots like Oglethorpe where we can take a look at maybe completing that through
Yeah.
and see if we can then pick out a couple, hopefully some low hanging fruit or 3-4 different areas, kind of come up with a cost estimate, and then take a look at what T-Splosh dollars might be available to weed out of that.
And not only that, but it'd be awesome to see retrofits of intersections where bike lanes connect with bike lanes, guiding the person through the intersection correctly. And research at Barnett Shoals is my example because I worked on research for 15 years, but there are lots of places in Athens where bike lanes intersect with bike lanes. And I think the user is really kind of left to their own devices to figure that out.
I'll buy that. All right, so that being said,
I was just gonna pull it up to
Okay.
kind of.
Oh, okay.
Visual, sorry.
so as I say, we'll start working on that. Next meeting is this next meeting.
So
It'll be the 16th.
All right.
Put that on your calendar now.
So to give context, a lot of our 3-lane policy essentially creates new bike lanes around Athens, but we don't widen the curve. And so we end up with these bike lane share situation. That's kind of what started the conversation. And so like, if you look at Oglethorpe, the way that we originally quantified this was Oglethorpe has bike lanes from Prince to Mitchell Bridge. We know that there are some major gaps here.
Yeah.
So the orange areas are sharrows, the blue are bike lanes. And I know these are marked as bike lanes. they're advisory lanes at best along Hawthorne, but the goal here would be that so for instance, right here at Oglethorpe, as part of this intersection improvement, we're adding in bike lanes from Brooklyn to Clover, but there's still gonna be a gap from Clover to Sunset or Holman. And so this would be essentially because you guys are the user group for the T-Splosh projects. We would create a sub-project within the T-Splosh program. And we could say, the goal here would be, we go ahead and identify every bike lane gap, and we would create certain criteria. And then, so in an instance where maybe Gaines School Road wouldn't necessarily constitute a bike lane gap because that in itself is just an Athens in Motion project. We all know that the gap needs to be filled, but it's not something that can be done for cheap, really. So this is where we would really identify where we need to do some widening, potentially, rebuild curb, hopefully not have to mess with right of way too much, but how can we really improve the connectivity of the network? So we would create a list of all the Shero areas that could be converted to bike lane, and then we could run that through engineering and design where they give us a rough cost estimate. From there, we could then bring it back to you guys and y'all can decide, we want to set aside $1 million of the 2022 T-Splosh funds to go towards this list, and we'll run it through these priority factors. And we could work on that with you guys. The goal here is to get that initial sub-project created because that has to move through mayor and commission. And so we would need to essentially build out a work session with mayor and commission and get their vote for creating the sub-project in the same way that we created the Barber Street sub-project, the Cherokee Road sub-project, those things.
This is awesome. I'm really enthusiastic about this. And I hope that it will show us in the future that we shouldn't build projects that we have to go back and spot fix later.
That could be our
The
next
prioritization.
policy. There's a 3-lane policy that we could also revise, that we can add after the Athens in Motion plan update.
Hopefully in doing so, we can up the 20,000 trips per day to 25,000 or more.
There seems to be, in some ways, as we look at the prioritization scheme for Athens in Motion plan, which we've been looking at in the grants and data a little bit, starting to look at, and those characteristics, it seems to be a disconnect almost in some ways from these gaps. You look at the gap and say, obviously we should fix this gap.
Right.
But if you apply those criteria, it may do terribly. So that's where the tension I kind of feel when I look at those prioritization criteria, which have a lot of value. But then I also look at on the ground, obviously we should fix this, yeah. So, how do we reconcile those two things? Because they're both important values. And I think we just need to figure out a way to, support both.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, the way I see the bike lane gap program working is we would still need mayor and commission approval on these things, but it's almost an administrative action. Whereas like with a full project, so with Barber Street, we're going on 3 years now of just concept planning, and we're doing another walk audit coming up. Talk about that later. We've gone through so many stages at this point. It's like all we need is concept approval, and that's like the first 10% of the project. It doesn't mean that the last 90% will take 10 times longer, but getting through that part has been so hard. It's like this would allow us to almost have like an administrative, like, okay, here's the fix, here's what we need to do, here's the expensive option and budget option. Like Athens Motion wants to go with budget option. And so I see this, we'd be looking at like, okay, this is a $200,000 project that would close the gaps in this area. That's just kind of number pulled out.
So help me understand, are we saying that Randy, are you trying to come up with a list of bike lane gaps and prioritization of those at this point and just do that? Or are you also asking that we come up with an amount from our bucket to allocate to this?
I would like to take it the full way. That that not only do we have an idea as to what we want to accomplish, but that if there are dollars available, which there are, that we do allocate them and keep things moving. Because we had a lot of momentum off of Prince, and I think now's the time to keep pushing.
I'm enthusiastically supportive of doing this. Is it too early to know how much we want to allocate though? Or do we have
Well,
an
Is there a
impression
max
more or less?
that you guys would,
well, I would say at this point, the first thing we do is just take a look at, let's get an idea of
Okay,
what this looks like. Yeah.
I totally agree. Okay.
Yeah, and then, but then our next step is to move right into.
we just want to make sure that we're barking up the right tree with this kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sounds great. I think what I want more information on, and I'm a little concerned about, is gap. It sounds like it's low hanging fruit, but this is all the stuff that couldn't be done right away. And I'm worried that it actually is going to be pretty expensive. And I love it because it fulfills our mission of like not creating more gaps, but actually connecting things. So I think it's absolutely worthwhile. But I want to be mindful or intentional about how we're spending the only $9 million we have from 2023. And if this is our top priority, or we want half of that money to go to that, then that's fine. I want us to consider that, because Barber Street in and of itself is a $6 million project. It is bike project number one. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, I think it's great. And I appreciate y'all, the Policy and Projects Committee, looking into those
gaps.
I think it's a great fulfillment of our mission.
And I think to piggyback on that, it would benefit us to look at matching those funds to other dollars, whether they're general transportation funds within Transportation Public Works, or grants out there that go specifically toward improving existing conditions for people who bike, like that Bloomberg thing that came up. I don't think we did anything about.
No,
But
if we had more just ready to go.
Right, exactly. But so there are funds out there that could be matched with our stuff too.
Yeah, and in a lot of these cases, it's like, do you have matching dollars? And we can say yes, but like, do we have the project developed out? Do we have a cost estimate? Do we have all the things that they're asking for? Like, they want to know specifically what you're going to do, and they want you to spend it in 2023. And if we know that it's going to take 6 months to get through an agenda approval process with Mayor and Commission to even use this, then that can get complicated. And so and the question that always comes up, like with this, with Oglethorpe, when I was talking to them about expanding bike lanes, like, can we change the scope of this? It was, well, why would this is coming from Intersection Improvement Fund. So I want to see all the other bike gaps around Athens and see how this compares. Like, is this the most equitable location? Is this the spot that needs it the most? How do we figure that out? And every time I kind of get hit with let's look at the system as a whole, it suddenly amplifies the amount of work that's needed to the point to where it can't really be done anymore. And so with a project like this, the first step would be, here are all the projects within this sub-project. And then we're going to work on them until money gets spent. And we can do item by item with you guys to make sure it's doing well. But I don't even know. I mean, we'll figure out how much public engagement needs to be done on this kind of stuff. But yeah, like in this particular area, like hypothetically, let's say this turn lane was not actually warranted. So there's some sections of the road that get 3-lane or 2-laned, and then they remove the bike lanes because, oh, well, there was a turn lane there before, and we put the turn lane back. But is that turn lane still warranted? Is it necessary? Like, we could just do a study of this. We could hire a traffic engineer, do a study, determine if the turn lane is warranted, and then, or we could just get traffic engineering to do it. And then in that case, it's just the cost of striping, and there's no curb work. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Randy. Was there anything else you needed from us?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Great, thanks for the work y'all are doing. Those are great initiatives. I'm gonna change things up a little bit because we are at 20 after 5, so we're already 10 minutes over. So what I would like to do is go ahead and move into our quick discussion of the necessity of trail lighting, and then move into staff updates so we can get Todd out of here, and we'll combine the discussion of the plan revisions with Daniel's update, and Daniel can use as much time as he wants. Let's make sure we at least talk about Prince and Barber. Is that okay with everybody?
Great.
All right, so before we go to staff updates, trail lighting, and Scott had sent an email about this, bringing this up as an item.
So yeah, we've been doing maintenance on the pumps, and it tends to be after hours, after work, after dark, that we're using the trail network as our transportation network. And we're seeing people out there using the trails despite the fact that they're closed after dark. And so we sort of started the discussion with Leisure Services about what would it take to put lights on the Greenway and have them, you know, available for people after dark for public safety reasons. There's a whole lot of barriers to it. There's a whole lot of groups that have interests and sort of stake in different parts of the Greenway. Greenway Commission, Firefly Trail, Sandy Creek Nature Center, UGA, county. It's a lot. And so I went to the Greenway Commission and just sort of tried to figure out if they're interested in having a discussion about it, because they've got concerns about wildlife and the fact that these trails are closed at night. But they're interested in having a discussion. We talked to Firefly Trail. They're interested in putting together some kind of task team to sort of move the issue forward and find out what the solutions are. And just here to see if y'all are interested in helping us tackle this problem.
Is the usage people commuting, you know, I would say, I guess it's maybe people commuting to and from jobs?
I think it's everybody. I mean, we're using it.
People going for a workout at 11 at night or 10?
Yeah, there's people walking their dogs, and when they come out of nowhere when you're going down there with your bike lights. They don't have reflective stuff. They're not walking with lights.
Right.
They're just using the trail. And, you know, UGA lights it up during game day because they know people are using it, you know, but it gets complicated.
So, yeah. They're using it for school too. We have the park and ride lot when non-game day, they're using it. We're seeing them out there.
I will say I'm also on the Firefly board, and it is going to be a big discussion point for us, because we think that people should be able to use the facility and be safe on it without.
Okay, particularly the Firefly,
ordinance.
particularly, you know, its route and where it goes and the communities it goes through and it supports.
Well, the Greenway too, though, because if I'm not affiliated with EGA, but if I was, and I got to school or work in the morning on a Greenway that was open, and I had to stay late at work in the winter, what am I gonna do? Bike out Lexington and Barnett Shoals on the way home? So I think it's an immensely important.
Did they ever do lights that are sort of motion activated?
Yeah, I
Is
was
that
thinking
something
that.
that's a thing?
There are so many sort of points in the discussion to have about those details, depending on what part of the trail you're on, you know, how close you are to the wildlife. I mean, or, you know, it's just, you know, the Firefly going down next to businesses. You know, the easements that they got to build the Firefly Trail, they didn't include lighting.
Right.
So going back to talking to property owners, it's just.
Yeah, but easements can be updated and renegotiated.
All of these
just
things.
like they were acquired in the first place.
Yeah, all of these issues I think have solutions. It's just a matter of like actually doing the work and figuring out what the challenges are and what the solutions are.
From the Greenway Commission's position, I personally in favor of looking into this. I have heard very strong opinions by other members of the commission, though. They're very much opposed to putting any lights on it because of some of the original mission of the Greenway. So that you're gonna have some people you're gonna have to really work with in order to.
I just want to know that they're willing to have the conversation, and it's just not a hard no.
Yeah.
I'm willing to start from that and see where we can go.
Good.
Seems like they're very different. There's just so many differences between the different parts of the various networks. There's some where I can really see a strong argument for not lighting it, and others where I can see a really good argument for lighting it. doing it in different ways. I think it's a great to have that conversation.
So our idea at Firefly Board was to kind of designate a couple people from each organization to work on an ad hoc group about it. I don't know that we're anywhere near getting to that point. It'll probably be at least another month before Firefly decides if they want to move forward, if we want to move forward on this at all. I mean, the answer is almost definitely going to be yes, but it hasn't been decided yet. So if we want to decide to do the same thing, right, like to nominate, designate a couple people to be involved in that discussion, great. If not, we'll meet again soon.
Yeah, I think temperature check is, we are interested. And that I know at very least I would like to be, if there's an ad hoc committee, I'd like to be on it. As someone who uses the trails year round for commuting, and in fact will be walking home at night on the Firefly Trail tonight, with Dudley Park as my little lighthouse in the distance, the little bathroom. Like, at least I've got that. So, yeah.
I remember there was, after a mayor and commission meeting, Lauren was walking home. And so we kind of walked and talked until she got to the Firefly Bridge. And then I kind of turned around to get back to the car. And it was like a super foggy night. And she was like, all right, if I don't see you, like, I'll text you to let you know if I survived. And she just was enveloped by darkness and fog.
Yeah,
She just disappeared into the bridge. Oh,
They call it a lighthouse.
literally.
Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't feel right. It's like I have to do some like mental math in my head. And I do this as a woman really a lot, is am I more likely to be mugged, accosted on our trails, or am I more likely to be hit by a wayward car on Oconee Street? And statistics show I'm more likely to be hit by a wayward car walking the sidewalk along Oconee Street, because that has happened before, right? There was a UGA student who was walking along the side of the road and lost her life. So I'm choosing the dark, scary trail and hoping that I'm maybe more scary than the person who approaches me. I don't know.
Just carry the bear spray.
My sister gave me some spray, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
But I'm really excited that, Greenway is willing to talk about this, that Firefly Trail's taking an interest in. Scott, you like Athens, appreciate that. Because these are critical transportation corridors, and they don't stop being that when the sun sets at 5:00 in December. So great. Let us know what we need to do to advance this forward. I'm thrilled. All right, it is 5:30, and I do have a hard stop at 6.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to, speaking of Firefly Trail and Greenway, we're going to turn it over to Todd. Are you still there, Todd? And can we make him big?
I'm still here. I was chatting with Daniel.
Great. Thanks for hanging in there. I know we're kind of running late. Appreciate you.
That's no problem. The update's super quick, so
Yeah.
I'm getting it up. I have some interesting pictures from the rain event
Right.
at the trestle. So is it up yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could. That's we talked to the engineer, and he looked it up, and that's only about a 10-year rain event that you're seeing in those bottom 2 pictures. So, but anyway, the construction is going. It's going a little slow. The timber guys are saying it's probably going to be early March before they are 100% complete. The goal is for them to keep working on the timber bents, the actual support structure, and then next week they should start working on putting the deck down. They're bringing a second crew in next week to start putting the deck on and the handrails onto the bridge. So it'll look even more like it's going pretty quickly. So
Nice.
anyway.
Yeah, I know. They stopped.
And then the Carrs Creek Greenway segment, that one, the contract's approved, and the contractors should start some basic construction stuff in February on that trail segment. So it's just the trail, not a trailhead with a parking lot and that kind of stuff and restrooms and all. So it'll just be the trail to begin with. And then we'll have, we'll have an internal discussion because they'll have a laydown yard where they were doing some gravel right there on Carriage Lane. And so will we want to put a parking and manage it as a gravel parking lot? So it's something we got to have some discussions on. They're still working on easements for Winterville. Basically, they got most of them. They just have two of the big ones where they're impacting one of the outbuildings for a property owner. So that's one that they're still working on those easements there, but it's getting closer. And then Firefly Trail, East Broad Street, right when we got ready to start doing construction on putting our monuments walls up and making the connection from the East Broad, the bike connection from East Broad to the trail, Georgia Power popped in and said, hey, we'd like to go ahead and bury our overhead lines on that segment of East Broad. And so a lot of these wires and all that you can see in this below picture now are going away. And so they got most of their jacking and boring done. And so they're getting ready to set their big giant transformer. And so we're waiting on all that to get finished before the contractor starts construction on it. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it would be done by March, but it's all depending on Georgia Power at this point. We're kind of in a holding pattern on that. And so that's all I have.
Can they put in some curb cuts for us for bike lanes to be able to get directly on the trail easily without having to go down to that second driveway?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
No, remember, we can't. There's a, when we met with transportation several years ago, the mid-block crossing we couldn't put a mid-block crossing there. And
it's not a mid-block. It would be just a curb cut for bikes to get in there. I can talk with Tim
but Tim called it a mid-block at that time. He would, if he put the curb cut there, he would want to see a crosswalk as well. And then we have two other issues. The other issue is, you can see, I mean, it's not a huge issue, I guess, but you see the light right there that's in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be moved. And then the curb cut higher up, there's a drop inlet right beside the where the curb cut would go. And I don't know if they can work the drop inlet and the curb cut together. And so that was kind of the reason that one got nixed. And then we moved to this one, and then we were like, well, we got the pole, why not just move to this lower? And that's where Tim was like, that's the better solution since it was already there.
I mean, this is a hugely important end of one of the biggest greenways that we have close to downtown, and people there's nowhere to go. You can make an awkward turn onto a sidewalk where there are people walking.
Yep.
I think we need to make an exception, and we need to think creatively about an exception, even if we are closer than whatever the mandated 200 or 150 feet to the intersection.
Yeah, but then you will have two entrances that are literally 20 feet apart.
Well, the reality is, though, is that if I'm on my bike coming down the hill at speed, I'm not going to go past where I need to go and then come back uphill to get onto the Firefly Trail.
Yeah.
So what Mark is saying is what everybody does now, and they're going to continue to do until we fix it, until we do it right.
Yeah, so so we can go back and have Tim relook at it, but like I said, the drop inlet is the big hurdle, because I think it's really close to, I'd have to pull it up, but.
Are you talking about the stormwater?
Yeah.
Yeah, stormwater curb. Yeah, it's a catch wing basin.
I'll share.
Yeah, just go ahead and share it, Daniel. Let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, and so that you don't have to deal with, Todd, I can take it to Tim.
Yeah.
This is more from Athens in Motion, not the services side, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
move the sidewalk.
So, yeah, I'm, basically, there's that drop inlet, so it may be possible. It sounds like the bigger issue is that if he was putting in a curb cut, then it would appear as if it's a mid-block, and so he would require that to be a mid-block. And then if it's a mid-block, then it doesn't meet the warrant of the distance, but I think there's some facilities.
I don't care, it could be further up, it could be here, I don't care.
Random curb cuts already.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll talk to Tim.
okay, yeah, thank you.
As it is, I bump over the sidewalk, look.
Did you have anything else?
Across, hope I don't get killed.
That's it.
Not as
Okay.
good a solution.
Well, thank you very much, excited to see progress on these.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
have,
if Daniel can get Tim to bless it, I agree, that's the better location, but,
Thanks.
what we were given, so.
Well, is there anything that we need to do, Daniel, to be behind you with Tim?
Let me see what I can get first.
Do we need a motion? I mean, like, because we're already here.
I mean, yeah, if you want to. I don't know. I'll talk to, so your motion is to explore.
okay. The Athens Motion Commission would like to make a motion to authorize Daniel and staff to explore curb cuts at the trailhead for the Firefly Trail to facilitate wheeled movement for bikes, wheelchairs, scooters.
And
That's the motion.
second?
I'll second that, probably.
Any further discussion?
Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we made a decision. You have been authorized to look into that. Great.
I will ask questions.
All right, we have 19 minutes. Let's talk about Prince Avenue and Barber really quickly. Newsflash, Prince Avenue pilot project has passed. It's really a thing. The next steps are to bring forth some next steps to the Mayor and Commission in the spring, some phase 2 elements. Can you give us a Twitter version of the timeline?
Yeah, we've canceled our user group meeting that was tomorrow because the consultant's not quite ready with the design. But consultant is working on the short term. We compiled a list of improvements, so they're creating a concept for short-term improvements and long-term improvements. So hopefully we'll have a work session in the next few months with the new commission, and they can take a stab at learning more about it and to see what our improvements are. And then some of the install is already going on. There's a new stop bar that I just installed today that allows people to stop back a little further. That might have been there for a while. I just noticed it today. So, but yeah, there's a few of them. We've already ordered the new zippers. So when those get delivered, they're coming from Spain. So we ordered directly from manufacturer this time. Purchasing is working on the paperwork. So we're moving forward, spending the money.
Great.
Did you get a few extra?
Got a few extra. More importantly, we already have the extra pallet of the A's. We've held off on installing them because we've ordered all of the B's. And so we're going to install B's and A's at the same time. And then with that, we are getting hardware directly from Zikla instead of having their distributor in the States source them, and then it was the wrong specs. So we're getting the hardware that they recommend, we're getting the zippers, they're gonna have a virtual installation demo with our team that will be doing the install, so they're clear on exactly how it needs to be done.
Great.
And they will all be epoxied in. So yeah, and then we're also gonna get some touch-up paint for the ones that look a little scuffed. And we're also adding in raised pavement markers on the white line that is next to lane of traffic. So you'll actually have that line be more reflective. And we're moving them back slightly from the lane of travel in those areas that are a little tighter. It'll move it in a little closer to the bike lanes, but in those areas, the bike lanes are actually pretty wide. So that was kind of a thing that we talked about.
Yeah, so long time coming, but stay tuned because there's more to be done. So thank you for keeping us posted. And Mark, thank you for serving on the Prince Avenue User Group. And thanks to everyone on there. Really thrilled with that. Long time coming. And at the Mayor and Commission meeting, Athens showed up to support this project. The public was ready for these bike lanes, and many people spoke. So, you know, everyone who showed up there, who lended their voice, we thank those folks as well.
Some of those commissioners were ready for that line to end. The line.
It was a doozy. It was really impressive.
Yeah, it was like the
Right.
Olympic was.
Yeah, and and hopefully more pilot projects could come in the future. The commissioners really liked the public engagement from this project. So we're hoping to replicate that with some future items. Next, Barber Street, Daniel, Stephen, Sarah from Tool, and myself gave the new Mayor and Commission an update and talked about segment 4, and we are hoping that they will keep Barber Street on the agenda for February 7th. Some of the commissioners are doing a walkthrough.
We have a scheduled walk audit. It's not final, but I believe it's on the 2nd of February. I'll find out if there are seats available, shoes available for AIM to attend. I know that the most important thing, we have 3 walk audits that day. So we're going to be spending the whole day with Tool, but there's kind of an initial staff walk audit. We're giving commissioners 2 separate times. It's not a staff walk audit. It's commissioners have 2 separate options to attend, morning and afternoon. And then we also have a walk audit in the middle of the day with Chase Street. So we'll talk about Chase Street in a minute. But yeah, so that'll
Probably
be,
won't talk about Chase Street.
I'll mention.
Okay.
So February 2nd, so before the vote. So it's still on the agenda. It hasn't been removed. So
Those are the big ones.
and on the Barber Street presentation, like one of the things, we mentioned that they really liked the public engagement on Prince. Like they compared the numbers and they're like, well, y'all had 1,600 people comment on Prince. And so next to that, like 100 responses just isn't really like, how is that true to tell us what the community wants? And so, I kind of made that illusion that doing the pilot project is basically us knocking on doors and saying, hey, look, we're going to do this. If you want to comment, you can comment, but this is what it will look like. And people pay more attention to that than, hey, come look at our drawing plans for what this will look like.
Also, look at the usage of both streets side by side.
Absolutely. But it's also a huge cost difference between the two. So I'm hoping that we get more pilot projects. Like we're really wanting to start leaning more towards that because it's a really great, effective engagement tool when it is a suitable thing. It's not like with Barber Street, I don't know that we could turn that into a pilot project. You don't temporarily install one right of way. But yeah, we're exploring pilot options.
Can you give us the other updates online?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to throw out street multi-use path is going to be going to public engagement soon. Just had a meeting about it today.
Okay.
Give y'all more info, but that's the 3 roundabouts next to each other. Have y'all been aware of that? It's been a couple years. What's that?
Chase Street.
Yes. Yeah, at the loop.
Yeah, Ronnie gave a presentation to us a couple of years ago and it was super fast. We didn't really even have time to ask questions. I think it was a really quick FYI.
And that's at what phase right now?
We have done we're working on the concept or the plans, one of those. I think maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
We're still exploring the idea of either 3 roundabouts or 3 traffic signals. In terms of like impact, like the 3 roundabouts is the way safer option. kind of know that the traffic signals are going to be a problem and it doesn't do any traffic calming. Whereas with the roundabouts, it's much more traffic calming.
Right.
So we're going to have some stakeholder meetings with like Pilgrim's Pride, the people who are getting the big trucks deliveries, and then we're going to do some in-person public engagement. It'll be more of like, what is your experience biking on this corridor? We're not going to have like designs for people to respond to. So
I would ask the Boulevard Neighborhood Association be counted as a stakeholder in that, please.
yeah, it'll be so everyone within I think a mile or a half mile will get postcards.
Great.
And then there's going to be one public meeting. We're just doing, because there's so many different things going on around Pilgrims, we're probably going to reach out to them to meet with them, like settle in. But if Boulevard Neighborhood Association wants to meet, they can reach out.
I appreciate it.
I know it stops up, the project scope doesn't extend past the bridge. It actually stops at the street before that. So we're considering this phase 1.
Gotcha.
And then the southern, to connect it up to it would be phase 2.
Okay.
There's still a lot more that needs to be done on that corridor.
Any quick updates from any of the other committees before we go into plan revisions? Because we only have 10 minutes. And we mostly heard from folks. And if there is anything, y'all are welcome to email it, like any updates from Greenway or UGA that you have. We'd love to hear it. But we do need to spend the last 9 minutes talking about moving forward with the plan revisions. So Daniel had sent out a copy of the plan with the ability to comment on it. And I know, Teresa, you have been in there. Thank you. And Mark, I saw that you had been in there as well. I don't know if anyone else has had a chance to leave comments. I didn't look through all the pages, but do you want to set, is our deadline?
Teresa and Mark are the two that I've seen.
Okay. Do you want to set a deadline for initial comments for January 31st, or do you need it sooner for the first round of comments?
What do you guys think? I mean, I'm not going to immediately start, like these comments will be the guiding kind of conversations in our committees. So,
Okay. So look at it, have some thoughts.
Yeah.
This is probably a ridiculous question that I should know the answer to. Do we have a planning committee that is targeting this update?
So, so Daniel, you were dividing this up into committees, that each committee would take a portion of this, certain element of this is what you were thinking?
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with that.
So what I've kind of got, I think that there's some.
And I included there's an attachment at the end of the agenda.
Yeah, and this is kind of I touched on this in the email, but basically, the goals, this is what she attached at the end of the agenda. So the Athens in Motion plan goals, I think that should be a commission-wide conversation. We could do some special called sessions. That I think we need to go through and identify which sections we're gonna work on. Public engagement portion, updating that information, that'll be spearheaded by the communications committee. And first step of that is opening the wiki map, so great work. Project network development, this is something that we're working on in projects and policy. So this is like, if you think about the map of, here's what Athens will look like in 50 years. It's a full-on plan of, here's every road and here are all the facilities that we've explored and here's the ones that we're recommending. So like, what are the projects? Not necessarily when are they going to get done. And then that final piece for when they'll get done, the prioritization criteria, that's going to be spearheaded by Grants and Data Committee. So they're going to look at the existing criteria, the new potential, all that kind of stuff, updating data sources. Now, Sherelle has done some preliminary analyses that kind of based on NACTO. She, our data is not fully complete, so it's hard to run the full analysis, but NACTO has like a safe streets approach for all. So it's like safe streets for all, like into a table. And that is something where we could essentially run an analysis on all the streets and say, okay, well, if this is a 25-mile-an-hour street and it has a volume of less than 3,000 people a day, and it's 2 lanes and it's, you know, basically all of these criteria and it's in this type of context, then this would be a Shero or a bike lane, a conventional bike lane. If it's over 35, then protected bike lane is the idea. And so with that, she kind of ran a preliminary thing of just looking at volume, and it kind of looks exactly like how you would imagine. Let me see if I can share it for you.
So ideally, the committees, the standing committees that we have would take a certain portion of this within their regular committee work, but we still might need some special called sessions to talk about the goals of the plan.
Yes.
And come forward with that. And this needs to be done spring, summer, fall.
Well, the goal is to have the whole plan revised by August.
Okay.
So.
Gosh, we need a project manager, y'all. We need a project manager.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's my attempt at project management.
Okay.
So this is kind of what spit out of the analysis. What this was looking at is, this is the average daily zone traffic. We pulled this out of streetlight data.
Mhm.
So all of the dark is above 6,000 to 44,000 a day. And then you've got 3,000 to 6,000 and 15 to 3 is yellow. Orange is the 3 to 6. But essentially, when you run it through, this is that spreadsheet I was talking about. So like, if it's greater than 26 miles an hour and it's more than 6,000 cars, or less than or equal to 6,000, then that could be a protected bicycle lane or reduced speed, protect bicycle lane, or a protected bicycle lane. So there's some different ways of doing it, but basically this is the safe contextual guidance for selecting all ages and abilities bikeways. Now, can we immediately jump to this? Like this would cost, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars to do this amount of protected bikeways, but this would be the all ages and abilities. Or do we want to do kind of the step-by-step approach where maybe like number one is like having connected sidewalks and connected bike lanes, even if they're mediocre. Like if we have delineated bike lanes and a continuous network of that, then we can look at, you know, upgrading some of those. So that's where some of the conversation comes in terms of doing the system-wide analysis of like, here's the recommended, and then we also want to take a look at what the bare minimum is, because we know for a fact that like on a road like Boulevard, like Sheros would be an option. Delineated bike lanes are totally an option, but like, do we need protected bike lanes? Probably not. On a road like Atlanta Highway, would we even settle for delineated bike lanes or even prefer like buffered? Probably not. Like I think a buffered bike lane on Atlanta Highway would just give people the illusion that it is okay for them to bike there, which would just increase crashes because the drivers aren't ready for it. So you would want to separate a facility as the minimum standard. So figuring out what our minimum standards are, all that kind of stuff. Now, what we could do, I've divided all of our city streets into 10 or 11 zones, and it's kind of based on census districts, context. So if you think of like the like East Athens all the way over, or like a better example is the east side, kind of hits from the south side of Millage, outside the loop, all the way around until Lexington Road. So that's the east side. And then on the north side of Lexington, you get into like Winterville area. So like these are like a bunch of different roads that we could look at. And we talked about this in the kind of projects and policy, but we could have like a weekly meeting that could be virtual. And it's basically a work group to say, okay, today we're gonna be looking at, and so we would send out a schedule ahead of time to say like, on this date, we're gonna be looking at the east side and the 5 Points like roads. And we would go through and talk about, this is what the analysis spit out and what do y'all think?
Okay.
So with that, we could
Yeah.
do special called sessions, but
Okay, so there's gonna be, I think it sounds like there's two parts to this. There's both the overarching goals and principles, and do we agree with that? And then there's the projects, the state of the roads themselves that have to be analyzed in our plan going forward. Yes?
yes.
Okay, so it's almost 6 o'clock. So I think what I want to do is get with you and Teresa and Phil and everyone else who's interested and come up with a timeline and meeting cadence and a potential way to get this done and bring this forward to the rest of the commission at our February full meeting.
Well, I guess my question is, the most basic question is, would y'all prefer to talk about something like goals of Athens Motion Plan at our general meeting? Or would you prefer to have a special called session that we set up? And then the full commission can attend, but it's basically, we're gonna have more special called sessions this year to really fully dig into this.
I want to think about it, because if we have a special called session, we have to have quorum. If it's subcommittee, it's different.
Okay.
So.
We could always create an ad hoc
Yeah.
committee
Mhm,
to handle plan oversight.
mhm.
Sure. And we don't have those numbers.
So plan oversight would be project management?
Yes.
That first meeting is, here's why we're gonna,
Well, the big picture of creating the plan or updating the plan.
Or it would be fully digging into, like, I plan on doing a lot of this stuff and then running everything by you, but this is a 200 or 300 page document.
Yeah.
And so, at the same time, I want to make sure it fits within everyone's schedule. And like, I want to make sure that we're able to effectively work on things without being bound by the, Georgia laws and all that kind of stuff. So, ultimately, I see it as a work group.
Okay.
And I think I know you guys probably trust me, but I like to make sure that y'all can be a part of the whole process all the way through. So, I don't want anybody to feel caught off guard or like, hey, where did that come from? So, yeah, we can talk about, maybe let's just set up a kind of essentially an executive committee with the committee chairs and you and anyone else who wants to attend.
Yeah, I'd love to participate in that discussion.
Okay, yeah, so we'll set up a meeting, and certainly if anyone can attend who wants to get things rolling, and we will come back to the full commission with a plan to work on the plan. So we'll have a meeting about our meeting. This is my favorite way to do things. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for doing a lot of organization. And I know that we keep kind of kicking the can down the road, but 2023 is going to happen. It's going to happen. So I'm sorry we don't have time to go around the room and talk. Thank you we went through a lot today, and I'm really happy that we were able to allocate some money to things and vote on a logo. And we will also we will finalize details about tabling for REI. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
You guys.
Thanks for your patience getting set up, y'all. I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
everyone.
Virtual.
We'll smooth it out.
Running your noses, everybody. Thank you.
It was really fun, Mark.
For $10?
Yeah, sure.
Have issues.
Taxpayer.
Right? Anything for good.